So welcome back from the break. Few things to say, few things to call your attention to. So when we were doing the empowerment, the body empowerment was done by relying on the vase over here. Then the speech empowerment was done by relying on this mala. And the heart-mind empowerment, of course, in a way, the heart-mind empowerment, no object is really necessary. In the text, it doesn't specify any objects, but it has become kind of a tradition that often a crystal like Vajra is used. And so there's the crystal Vajra. So this is the body, speech, and mind. Basically, the idea of this type of empowerment, which is the technical term is called, in Tibetan, is called Je-nang. Je, in this case, can be translated as subsequent, and Nang is like permission. So literally, it's like subsequent permission. A very awkward. Like, what do you mean? The subsequent permission. So there is a context to this. The subsequent part is subsequent to what? Technically, subsequent to having received what is known as a major empowerment. Then you say, what is a major empowerment? What makes it a major empowerment isn't so much about lots of people were here, so it's major. Yeah, or it was many days, so it's major, right? Or, you know, all the people involved are really huge. No, obviously. That's not what makes it a major empowerment. A major empowerment is when there is, in terms of length, there is a preparatory empowerment day. And this is not the teacher's own preparation. This is all the initiates have to gather to do the preparatory rituals, followed by the next day and the next 2 days sometimes of the actual empowerment. So for example, the Kala Chakra empowerments, especially when His Holiness the Dalai Lama gives it, is done as a major empowerment. So there's a preparatory day followed by 2 days. In fact, I just saw, I don't know if it is accurate, I tried to go look for it. I just saw on Facebook one of the Chinese Tibetan Buddhist Facebook page that basically has information on His Holiness the Dalai Lama giving a major empowerment, and you can participate on Zoom on July 8, 9, 10, I think. A Chakra Samvara major empowerment. Maybe I missaw, but you're out there, you know, look around. So 3 days. So the preparatory and 2 days. Now, aside from that, you know, kind of making it a major empowerment, in fact, what makes it a major empowerment is that it has what is known as 4 empowerments. But here, when we say 4 empowerments, maybe you could say 4 stages of empowerment. And the 4 stages of empowerment is, the first stage is called the vase empowerment. Then the secret empowerment. Then the wisdom knowledge empowerment. And then the 4th empowerment. The 4th is simply called the 4th empowerment. Sometimes it's called the word empowerment. Words, word or words empowerment. So these 4 stages of empowerment, where there's the vase empowerment, secret empowerment, wisdom knowledge empowerment, and the 4th empowerment, there again, as I said, it's not necessarily 4 empowerments. Because, for example, in the Kala Chakra empowerment, the vase empowerment has 11 empowerments under that stage. Like today, if we want to count the equivalent, today we have 3. Body, speech, and mind, using a vase, using a mala, and using a dorje, a vajra. In the Kala Chakra, 11 empowerments for the vase stage. There is like the empowerment of the crown, the empowerment of the bell, the empowerment of the vajra, the empowerment of the tassels, the empowerment of water, the empowerment of the vajra master. So there are 11. With or without those 11, when there are the 4 stages clearly kind of distinguished, vase empowerment, secret empowerment, wisdom knowledge empowerment, and 4th empowerment, that's what makes it a major empowerment. So this that we did today, what I sometimes call the blessing empowerment, the technical term again is subsequent permission. So subsequent is referring to subsequent to having received a major empowerment, then you can receive different permissions, the nang of Jenang. You can receive different permissions to engage in different deity practices. So that's why it's called a subsequent permission, Jenang. So in Drigong Kagyu, a very popular set of Jenang is a set of 50 deities, 50 subsequent permissions. Some of us actually did all 50 with His Holiness in West Virginia. Who? Were you there, Pramad? Laura, were you there? Russell?
Not for the Fabiola was there?
No, not for the 50.
Before.
I think over here maybe Pramad.
Judy, wasn't Judy there?
Yeah.
Judy was there.
Oh yeah. Sheila, I know. Sheila, were you at the 50 empowerment? No. Okay.
Guatemala was from there.
Only Maria Carmen, I think. Only Maria Carmen, I think.
That I met. To Taiwan.
Yeah, 2 Taiwanese. Anyway, this was almost 9-10 years back in West Virginia. Over a period of 10 days, he gave 50 empowerments.
That's a lot.
50 of the Jenang, so it's an empowerment ton. Wang is the Tibetan word for empowerment. I call it a wangathon. So 5 each day, and I think we took 1 day off in the middle and had a picnic. Yes. Actually 52 altogether. At the end, His Holiness added 2 more. For Amagala and Achi, I think. Also altogether 52 empowerments. So these are the subsequent permission. So what we did today is from that collection of 50. Kamakagyu has a collection that is 108. And they divide it into peaceful and wrathful deities, a collection of 108. Kamakagyu has that. The Sakyapas are the experts in giving empowerments. They have a collection of 300. And of course, many other lineages also have received all this, but the kind of the main people who do that is a set of 300 empowerments. And then there's another set of maybe 700. So many. So there's no end to taking empowerments. From Jigten Sumgun's, founder of Drigong Kagyu's emphasis, he says, basically, any and all empowerments that we receive, we should have the understanding and the attitude that it's the one same empowerment. Yeah? Doesn't matter what deity, doesn't matter long or short. See all empowerments as a single empowerment. And this single empowerment, at the moment when we become Buddhas, is when we finally receive empowerment. Like the actual full extent of empowerment is only completely realized, and that is what we call Buddhahood. Right? So we should not think, oh, I have that empowerment. I mean, it's kind of laughable to say, I have that empowerment. Oh, you're Buddha already? Because the final empowerment is said. There is a mythic telling of the enlightenment of Shakyamuni. So this month, according to the Southeast Asian calendar and South Asian calendar, this is the holy month of Vaishaka. So we call it Vesak. Vaishaka is the name of the month. It's the 4th month of the calendar, of the South Asian calendar. So in Tibetan it's called Sakadawa, but Tibetan Sakadawa is, I think, a month later. Anyway, in the Indian calendar, this month is Vaishaka. And Vaishaka full moon day is the day that Siddhartha achieved the state of Buddha. So the usual story of Siddhartha achieving the state of Buddha, I think we all know, right? He was a prince, he left his kingdom, he practiced in the forest for 6 years, learning with different teachers, did not achieve what he was looking for. Then he sat under the Bodhi tree, then he achieved the state of Buddha, realized enlightenment, became Buddha. In Vajrayana tradition, there is an alternate telling of this story. They say, actually, what went on before he became Buddha, or the whole process of becoming Buddha, was that in the last moment, the Buddhas of the 5 families, male and female, the Bodhisattvas, male and female, the wrathful deities, male and female, they all came to Bodh Gaya, that Bodhi tree where Siddhartha was seated. And there they gave him empowerment. And the moment he received empowerment, he became Shakyamuni. Now, I'm sure some people would argue with that and say, oh, you all made this up, blah, 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 nothing like that happened, this, that. That's completely missing the point. We don't need to take that story as literal. What we need to understand is what that tells us about the nature and the purpose of empowerment. Which is often in Vajrayana, it says, in Vajrayana, we take the result and turn the result into the method. Now, obviously it's not literally taking the result to make into the method, as if, right? Now I'm Buddha. But what it means to take the result and turn it into the path or the method is to say, the result is you are a Buddha. Now you train to use that result as your reference point. And I said, and say, I'm Buddha. So if Buddha is this way, this way, this way, therefore I need to overcome this, 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 and that. So the notion of taking the result to be turned into a method or a path is not as mysterious or hard to believe as it sounds. Athletes do that. So if you are learning tennis or golf, right? Of course you learn all the skills and you put in all the hard work, but you're also taught to imagine, visualize the best serve, right? So you have an idea. Although this idea is just a conceptual idea, but it's a method. So you have that as a reference point. So this subsequent permission, whereby we say, okay, now you should think of yourself as Ushnisavijaya, this form, this way, this way, this way. That's taking the result as the method, as the path. Then, like an aspiring professional tennis player or golf player, you need to work. You need to work hard. You still need to put in work. Just because you think, oh, I'm hitting like Tiger Woods. Yeah, maybe in your own mind, but in the real world, you're not manifesting Tiger Woods yet. Yeah? So likewise. So we can say, yes, in reality, you are Buddha. And so are others in reality, according to the great vehicle system. You are Buddha, others are Buddhas. But in terms of manifesting that in a way that can have some positive impact in the world, not yet. They got to bring forth. You got to bring forth, you got to manifest those qualities. And so then what we do is we have the path. So empowerment is further divided into what's known as the basis empowerment or the ground empowerment, then the path or the method empowerment, and then the result empowerment. The result empowerment would be like that story of Shakyamuni being empowered at the end and becoming Shakyamuni. That's the result empowerment. The final empowerment, right? That in a way you could say formalizes, yes, you are Buddha now. But in order to get to the result empowerment, lots of path empowerment. And that actually we do every day. We do every day. And what we do every day, so the practice, which this text, the sadhana. Sadhana means a method to accomplish siddhi. Sadhana is derived from the word siddhi. Siddhi means, in folk religion, siddhi means powers, magic. But this is the ultimate magic of being Buddha. So to actualize the siddhi, you rely on the sadhana. So that's the path empowerment, which is you continuously empower yourself. How do you empower yourself? based on the basis empowerment, which we did today. Now, we say we did today, right? In fact, if we want to be exact about it, then I can say, I attempted to give, you attempted to receive. As to exactly how it all adds up, it's hard to say. Yeah, if I'm being honest about it, you know, although many lamas, you know, culturally they say, no, you should be confident and say, yes, you got the empowerment now. Yes, yes, yes. I feel that's kind of like, you know, cultural and more old school, right? Yes, definitely you got it. So you're good now. So it will give people some confidence, you know. They say, okay, I got it. I'm going to do it. Okay? Whether skillful or not skillful, I can tell you, my style is to say, I tried my best to give, you know, and I have to assume you try your best to receive. Then between those two, hopefully something happened. Yeah, hopefully something happened. And I can say, you know, sometimes people come up to me and say, yes, something did happen. I say, oh, very good, you know. Nature of this business is usually people don't come out and say to you, nothing happened, I want my money back. So they just quietly walk away and you don't see them for a while until they suffer more. Then they think, maybe I should try again and see if it works. Yeah. So what was attempted, so to say, is again in good faith, I attempt to introduce you to Ushnisavijaya. Okay. And then if you have, in good faith, tried to meet Usnisavijaya, maybe you met. Now let you say, I'm not sure if I met or I didn't meet. All is not lost yet. Because some connection was made, so now you try to meet her on your own. Using path, using sadhana, using path empowerment. Yeah. So maybe I did try to introduce her to you, but then, you know, you found yourself awkwardly, right, sitting in the restaurant going, am I at the wrong restaurant? Wait, what time did he say that she was coming? Yeah, I'm the matchmaker, right? Like, did I get the right restaurant, you know? Is it today? Right? Even if that was your experience, right? I can say, no, I did call her, you know? And she said she'll be coming, you know? But somehow you missed her, right? And, well, maybe I told her the wrong time or the wrong place, right? But some connection is made. So now at least, well, I did turn up, you know, thinking that I will meet her, but I don't think she was there. Yeah. And maybe if you talk to somebody else, you know, yeah, Nat, maybe you say that to John. John's like, oh no, I saw her. She was there. Yeah, I saw her. She was there, but she wasn't that interested in me. No chemistry, right? Spiritual chemistry, also possible. Yeah. But the key is you don't give up. I'm going to stop dating the deities. Because it never works. Yeah. It never works. I don't want to date these deities anymore. They're so fickle. But don't give up. Now at least you have some idea. Then you can meet them on your own now. You have enough if you really wanted to. you can meet them on your own. And in fact, even after a successful date, so to say, everybody turned up, everybody met everybody, you now need to continue that relationship. The matchmaker can only do so much. Made the introduction, now you need to put in time and effort to nurture, to strengthen this relationship until the result turns up. Make sense? Yes? Okay, now anything from the empowerment, any questions? And I need someone to pay attention to what's there in terms of chat. You all, either if you're shy to speak, you can speak. Can you connect to, is it possible?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to speak, you can speak. If not, you can type, those of you who are on Zoom. And then anyone in this room, anything about the procedure of the empowerment, you're curious, even curiosity just doesn't have to be some profound special question. Here's an opportunity to kind of gain some understanding, so that when you go to other empowerments with other lamas who may or may not want to answer these questions, here's your chance to ask, and if I can, I will answer. Meaning if I'm capable, I will.
Dr. Lai,
Yes.
do you? Thank you. At the beginning, you said Vijaya was victorious over all confusion and obstacles, but I missed what is Ushnisha?
Ushnisha is that growth on top of Buddha's head, which I say symbolizes wisdom. Yeah, it's special characteristic, physical characteristic of a Buddha form. It has this mound of flesh. Yeah, that's the Ushnisha.
Yes,
which I say is an
you.
outer sign of Buddha wisdom.
I have a question.
Yes.
Isn't she also the white umbrella?
Say that again?
Isn't she also the white umbrella?
No, white umbrella is a different deity.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, is this the one where the picture of her has all this Unisha all the way up?
Huh?
Well, I guess I was looking at another picture.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah, white umbrella is white umbrella, Siddhartha Patra. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, white umbrella is actually another kind of Buddha figure that over time, I felt more and more kind of a connection to that deity, not at first sight. So white umbrella, Siddhartha Patra, Dukar.
Jam Young asks,
Uh-huh.
when we do the 4 activities, do we change the color of the rays of light to fit the activity, such as white for pacification?
Right. Yeah, so there's a question about thank you for the question, because the broader kind of program here is talking about the 4 Buddha activities. So I will talk more about the Buddha activities. But I almost forgot that I should talk about the 4 Buddha activities. So very briefly, the 4 Buddha activities refer to how when Buddhas benefit beings, it's said that there are 4 approaches that Buddhas can take to benefit beings. So these are called the 4 karmans. Karman is like plural for karma in Sanskrit. So the 4 types of actions. And here is to be understood as enlightened or awakened actions, not confused actions. But actually the tradition of the 4 karmans, or the 4 types of karma, has an earlier layer of significance in ancient India. And that is, in fact, that layer is, in fact, if you want, for lack of better word, Indians didn't call it that, but for lack of better words, you could say shamanic, meaning to say these are indigenous, like folk religion, which may or may not have, like, holy texts and professors and philosophers, all of that. It's kind of religion on the ground, right? Folk religion without a lot of ideology, but very practical. Most folk religion is very commonsensical and practical. Sometimes practical to the point that we say, oh, I don't know, that seems wrong. Which is like, I would like that guy to fall in love with me. I would like that girl to come home with me. What can I do, Mr. Shaman? Here, I'll give you a love potion. Right? I mean, noble or not, it's very practical. It's folk religion, right? In a sense, folk religion leaves it to you, the morality part of it. That's you figure that out yourself. I'll help you, hook that person in, or I'll help you to keep that person away. Now, for good or bad reasons, that's up to you. You go figure it out. So, I think folk religion, indigenous, or again, for lack of better word, shamanic, it's like this. So, in India, there are these 4 types that these shamans would engage in. One is called rituals for pacifying, rituals for calming things down, ritual for soothing, ritual for, smoothing out things. That's the shanta, shanti, peace, pacify, calm down, cool down, remove, heal. So that's one type. Second type is to enrich, to multiply, to make increase. So you want your land to be fertile. You want your animals to have offspring every spring. Then the third one is what here I translated as enchantment. But under this enchantment, it has a range of things that you could say to enchant. That means to have, right? What is enchantment? From one perspective, it's basically having power over someone else. And not just someone, but things. Having power over things. So this is sometimes also called magnetizing. More commonly, that's the translation. To magnetize. So same with enchantment, right? To magnetize here is not talking about making something a magnet, which is talking about pulling. Pulling iron towards, to magnetize, to enchant, to overpower. So that's the third. Then the fourth one is to destroy. Destruction. Like destroy your enemies. Having power over your enemies. Growing your supporters. And kind of making well, making good So the first two has to do with what you like. The last two sort of has to do with what you don't like. Not necessarily bad, but just. Right? Anyway, on the folk religion level in India, there are these general four types of rituals. So in Vajrayana, it is said that in the same way that in folk religion you could do these four things, Buddhists also operate with these four types of activities, except that the difference between Buddhists and non-Buddhists in terms of using these four methods, Buddhists are completely motivated, informed by both wisdom and compassion. Wisdom, which is Buddhists see exactly. Is it good to give this kid candy right now or not good? Buddhists can see clearly. And Buddhists are motivated simply by a desire for you to be free from suffering. So even then, when Buddhists seem to use coercive methods, which is the attraction, or even when Buddhists seem to use like painful methods, which is the destruction, it is out of their wisdom and compassion, no question. So Vajrayana has appropriated folk religion and elements of folk religion, reinterpreted it and say, we can work with any of these types of methods as long as it's genuinely coming from the position of bodhicitta. Then associated with these four types of activities are colors, as the question that Jamyang asked. Generally speaking, pacify is white. Not like transparent, but white like milk. White. Then increasing is golden yellow. Attraction is red, or enchantment. Destruction is black or dark green to the point of black. Those are the four colors. Generally speaking, again, yes, in terms of like when you do mantra recitation for these activities, when it's pacifying, it's white color, the light. When it's increasing, it's golden yellow. When it's control, it's red. When it's destruction, it's black or dark green. Then, even though Ushnisavijaya, we say, is generally a deity of pacification of the first type, there are sometimes also instruction that you can also have kind of this principle of Ushnisavijaya, but manifesting destruction activity. Then there might be black light. So it's not like a strict rule. Oh, Usnisavijaya is only white. But generally speaking, white. Other questions or comments? Yes.
If we're practicing the sadhana, are there any like standard or like traditional like signs that will happen if we're doing it right?
Yeah, so the question, are there any signs or indication that, you know, your sadhana practice is going right or going wrong? Yeah, they talk about dreams and things like that. But generally, don't pay too much attention to signs. They're kind of unreliable. We go back to if bodhicitta becomes stronger, you're doing it right. If bodhicitta becomes weaker, not doing it right. If you use that sign, you'll never be wrong. Other signs, yes, actually the tantras, they talk about it, but hard to say.
Thank you.
In some traditions, and I think this is just the range of human experience, right? And when I say unreliable, I don't mean they're false. I don't mean they don't work. It's just, it's complicated. Like in some traditions, right? Having rainbows and pink flowers. If you have dreams like that, they say, oh, that means good things are going to happen. But in some traditions, seeing like someone dying and they're like, no, that means good things is going to happen. And as we become more and more international, so to say, exposed to so many cultures everywhere, I think right now we're all mixed up. So even the dreams that are trying to reach you to tell you something, you're like, which culture did you come from? You're a skull. Are you like telling me I'm going to die soon, or are you going to tell me I'm going to like accidentally make a baby soon? Hard to know because it's all mixed up now. So bodhicitta, less power klesha has over you. Good. More sensitive to the 8 concerns. Bad. Those are universal, and timeless. The 8 concerns are always the 8 concerns, always lead to misery. 1 degree of freedom from the 8 concerns, 1 degree of relief. 10 degree of freedom from 8 concerns, 10 degree of relief. Complete freedom from the 8 concerns, complete freedom. That never changes, Any other questions out there or here? Yes.
So
of course, John. Just waiting.
Which, I guess I may have found it now, but
By the way, again, Mahayana sources, say that Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are active in the world, and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas' activity in the world is really inconceivable. So they say, for example, when Buddha Shakyamuni was teaching in the world, the beings that turn up, the disciples that turn up, some of them were in fact emanations of Buddhas. And of Buddhas who were Buddhas even before Shakyamuni was Buddha. But because of the power of their vows, they say, I'm going to support every single Buddha that comes in the future, in whatever way that I can be supportive. So then they might manifest as a disciple, or they can even manifest as a troublemaker. if it would further the benefit of that Buddha. Yeah. So then there will be like, some disciples asking questions of the Buddha. Then later it's like, oh, actually that is Buddha Shakyamuni's teacher from past life who was already a Buddha. Yeah, so, when people ask questions, sometimes they really are asking questions, sometimes they're just pretending. So John, go ahead. So, for the benefit of all, having made a vow to turn up at every idiot's teaching, I will manifest my Buddha activity.
Are one of these the specific mantra associated with Ushnisavijaya?
All of them.
All of them?
Which one? Wait, when you say specific, where?
Well, specific.
What are you looking at?
I guess in the manner of accumulation.
Wait, what page? Always page.
The maybe page 11.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm recognizing some of those of what we said. I can't remember.
Yeah, those are on page 11. So now the sadhana. That's the shortest Ushnisavijaya mantra is Om Drum Swaha. A little bit longer, Om Drum Swaha, Om Amrita Ayudade Swaha. Okay. The middle length is the one above. Om Amrite Amrito Bhave Amrita Vikrante Amrita Gamini Amrita Ayudade Swaha. Right? Then the longest one is on page 14, which is called a dharani. The exact definition of dharani is that it's a device to memorize big chunks of things. Yeah? It's a mnemonic device, a way to memorize big chunks of information. And that's what dharani means, to hold together. So it's like it holds together a lot of power, information, knowledge, wisdom. Dharani. But when we call something like this a dharani, for practical purposes, we just mean very long mantra. So this is the very long mantra of Ushnisavijaya, the dharani. Yes.
So is this one of those things that we can do accumulation of outside of a formal set as well? So
accumulation of mantra is best done in a formal way. Yeah. Then when you've gotten up from your seat, it's good to anchor your mind in something virtuous. Then whatever mantra is fine. When you talk about accumulation, by definition, accumulations are to be done in a focused manner. And so if you made a promise to say, between now and next month, I want to accomplish 1,000 of the dharani, then it should be, sit down, focus 1,000 dharanis. Because the whole point of accumulation is focus power. It's not like, you say, I'm going to do 1,000 and I'm going to do it while jogging. And Ushnisavijaya goes, bad, I'm going to punish you. It's not about that, right? Accumulation is focusing of power. And you build up power a lot better when you're focused. But sometimes people think, oh, bad things will happen to you if you... Again, fear-based. I'm not a fan of. It doesn't work. Now that these mantras are mentioned, I think for many of us, if we want to try to engage like Usnisavijaya, now that you have been introduced to her, yes, I've changed over the years, how I think, changed because I'm seeing more and more how I benefited from this, how other people are benefiting from this, right? So there's the party line. Oh, you should do this, do this, do this, do this, right? And of course, the party line we should repeat because that's the reference point, which I will talk about. But then there are also what's often known as pith instructions. Like sometimes people just use that, like pith instruction, pith instruction. Well, what do you mean? What that means is like practical instruction, practical, and usually not written down. Why? Because a couple of reasons. One is it's not appropriate to write it down because it's so situational. So it's not worth concretizing it into an instruction that's passed down from generation to generation because it's not that universal. But that it is not that universal doesn't mean that it is not useful. It could be very useful. So these are like based on the experience of the individual. Then offering to you, try it this way. So again, back to Jigten Sungpan, he says, between pith instructions and the Buddha's words, prioritize the Buddha's words. Because pith instructions are usually given by your teacher. So he's not saying that these two are contradicting, but he's saying you prioritize the Buddha's teachings, meaning your overall view has to be clearly how the Buddha would look at things. Then if you have that right, the pith instructions can be really helpful. Yeah? So here, my suggestion of like, okay, now you have been introduced to Ushnisavijaya, and for sure, some of you're like, I actually don't have much interest in Ushnisavijaya. I'm participating in this because, as you suggested, it's a good way to learn more about Vajrayana. That is not just PowerPoint lecture, completely kind of in the style of, academic lecture. Sure, you can learn something about Vajrayana that way, of course. But this is more a practice-oriented learning of what Vajrayana is. So I did say to people, you can take this empowerment without thinking, oh, I'm going to be doing Usnisavijaya. But in good faith, I recognize that an effective way to learn more about Vajrayana is to participate in an empowerment. So then that's good. Then don't stress over, oh, I need to practice this daily or every week or all of that. Just leave that alone. Yeah? But again, work on the foundational matters. Know what the 8 worldly concerns are. Know what is bodhicitta. Work on that, But if you say, I didn't know anything about Ushnisavijaya, I had no intention, but then after this empowerment, I think I felt something. I'm now curious, right? If that is the case for you, then here is what I suggest. Don't immediately try to do the sadhana, meaning page 1. In the past, I would say, oh yeah, do the sadhana. Because that's how I learn. Everybody else say, oh, now time to do the sadhana. It's easy to give up, actually. For one person who's succeeded because they're stubborn, thanks to being a Taurus, I think I'm still around because I was stubborn. But the truth of the being stubborn is also lazy. That's also part of the mix. Laziness plus stubbornness means why do something else, Even if it's not working, it's like, no, it's too much effort to do something else. People say, why are you Buddhist? You study so many religions in your PhD program and you teach. It's like, out of laziness and stubbornness. But if you now have some curiosity about Usnisavijaya, then what you should do is, in a limited way, don't go too much. Look around on the internet, Ushnisavijaya. Don't take everything you find on the internet to be true, with a grain of salt. Now you're spending more time, even looking at images of Ushnisavijaya. Then lightly kind of look around, oh, Usnisavijaya means this or that. There's actually a very helpful volume, academic book called Buddhist Goddesses of India by this professor, Miranda Shaw. And she has many chapters on all types of female Buddhas, deities, bodhisattvas. Miranda Shaw, Buddhist Goddesses of India. And there is a chapter on Usnisavijaya with a lot of very helpful information. So you can read things like that, so you get some familiarity, right? So that's the research, that's the reading part, but that's also the imprinting part. You know, you're kind of getting more and more exposed to, right? Now, meanwhile, you say, I would like to maybe do something daily. Then you can start with page 16, which is the praise to Usnisavijaya and the retinue. So this was written by an Indian Buddhist master called Acharya Chandragomin. Chandragomin, interestingly, was a lay person, not monk. Usually all the great heroes are monks, and sometimes nuns, but often not a lay person. But Chandragomin was one of these great scholar of Indian Buddhism, but he was never a monk. He was a lay person. So Chandragomin wrote this praise to Usnisavijaya and Usnisavijaya's retinue. And in fact, during the empowerment, I was supposed to describe the retinue to you, but too much. But now I'll tell you. Not only does he has 3 faces and 8 arms. Standing right and left to her are 2 of the great bodhisattvas. On her right is Avalokiteshvara, the Lord of Compassion. On her left is Vajrapani, the Lord of Power. So they're standing. She's seated, standing in attendance. As attendants is Avalokiteshvara and Vajrapani. Then in front, right, behind, and left are 4 wrathful deities. Peaceful bodhisattvas are often described as 16 years old. It's kind of like, for Indians, 16 is like that prime age of being beautiful, handsome, all of that. So bodhisattvas in peaceful form is always described as 16-year-old youths, right? Wrathful deities are always described as big, stout, and strong. Like Shrek. Yes. The closest to popular culture, Shrek. So 4 wrathful deities. In front, his name is Achala, and he holds a sword in the right hand. To the right is Mahabala. Is it? To the right is Mahabala, and he holds a bludgeon, a staff. Let's see. Oh, Kamaraja, sorry. The name sometimes, Kamaraja, which actually means, the king of desires, Kamaraja. Achala means unmoving one, the one who doesn't move. Not so easily to shake him. He's not so easily influenced. Kamaraja is to the right. And he holds, on page 20, a hook. The hook. Then behind is Niladanda. And Niladanda, right hand is holding a bludgeon, a big stick, basically. Then to the left is Mahabala, and he holds a Vajra in the right hand. So all their right hands, they hold a different weapon. Left hand is this gesture. This is called the threatening mudra. Like, you, watch out. Yeah? You, watch out. The threatening mudra. So they are standing like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So 4, 2, 6, now 7. Now you have 7. Right? Main deity plus 6. 2 more. These last 2 is kind of mysterious. They are described as 2 gods from the pure realms, like the loka, the rupa loka. Remember, some of you remember I talked about the 3 worlds of existence: the sensual world, the world of pure forms, and the formless world. So the rupa loka deities, there are 2 hovering up in the clouds, and they are holding containers where they are pouring down the elixir of immortality and raining down on all these deities. So this is called the 9 deity mandala of Ushnisavijaya. So back to the how to develop this practice. Say this supplication, say this prayer. So perhaps you have a small, you can go, we used to print these things out and give it out, and I now decided, no, I'm not going to do this. Everybody has access to computers, have access to printer or access to staples. Go find an Ushnisavijaya picture if you so desire, print it out to whatever size that fits your space, have it there. Or even if you don't have a shrine like that, you can just print it out and put it in your text. Whenever you want to do this practice, bring it up, put it in front of you, then you can do this praise on page 16. More important than just like, I mean, don't make it just like, saying the words. And don't make it like, oh, I'm obligated to say these words. But with a sense of like curiosity, with a sense of like, I would like to connect more with this particular deity principle, then you can say, this praise, this supplication, this invocation. Yeah? So page 16, let's do this one time together. Principle Bhagavati, like a pundarika flower, unstained by any false body, white in color, 3 faces, 8 arms, 3 eyes on each face, endowed with crown, ornament, necklace, earrings, bedecked with jewels of various colors, sitting on a lotus and moon seat, main face white, right golden, and left blue. Your 2 faces with clenched fangs, right hands holding a Vajra cross, a lotus with victorious Amitabha, an arrow, and displaying the mudra of perfect Rosity, left hands holding a noose with the threatening mudra, a bow, the mudra of fearlessness, and an excellent precious vase with Vairocana on the top of the crown, white rays of light radiating out and gathering in robe. heavenly upper garments, fully abiding within a stupa, lady who longevity and intelligence, praises to you, O Bhagavati. To your right is Lord Avalokita, body white in color, unstained by any faults, left hand with the lotus and right with a fly whisk. Homage to you. To your left is Guhyapati, color like an upala, left hand with a vajra, right holding a jewel fly whisk. Homage to you, powerful one in the four directions of east, south, west, and north are the four wrathful kings. In front is the wrathful king, protector Achala, dark blue, holding a sword in his right hand, left hand in the threatening mudra. Homage to you, tamer of the horrible, great, wrathful Kamaraja, dark blue, brandishing a flaming hook, having the appearance of taming the horrible. Homage to you, who summon all greatly wrathful Niladanta, one face, two hands, hand with a staff left, displaying the threatening mudra. Praises to you, dark blue, tamer of all, wrathful king Mahabala, color of Udbala, having two hands, right hand with the vajra, left with the threatening mudra. Praises to you, wrathful subduer of demons, all ornamented with snakes. The skin, one face, two arms, body blue in color, standing with left leg astride on the lotus. Dwelling upon high are two gods of the pure abodes, wearing celestial ornaments and clothing, hands holding elixir vases, from which streams of elixir flow continuously. On all homage to you with pure forms. Through offering this praise at all times, whatever that is agreeable arises, and by praising you, continue all intelligence and longevity, increase by praising single-pointedly and aspiring with a mind of devotion. May the siddhis of glory and riches be bestowed, and supreme siddhi be accomplished. Yeah, that's Ushnisavijaya and her posse. By the fact that her two attendants, Avalokiteshvara and Vajrapani. Vajrapani here is called Guhyapati. That's another name for Vajrapani. Vajrapani literally is he who has a Vajra in his hand. Pani is holding, Vajra holding a Vajra in his hand. Guhyapati, Guhya is secret, esoteric. Pati is Lord, Lord of the esoteric teachings. Why Vajrapani is called Lord of the esoteric teachings is because it is said that he was the one who collected all the Vajrayana teachings of the Buddha. After the Buddha Shakyamuni passed away, the legend says that Vajrapani was primarily responsible for gathering up all of those and putting them together. So he's called Guhyapati. So the fact that it's Avalokiteshvara on the right and Vajrapani on the left, then because of that, the tradition also says that in fact Ushnisavijaya is a manifestation of Amitabha. Because Amitabha has these two great bodhisattvas as his attendant. So Ushnisavijaya is the female aspect, you could say, of Amitabha. Questions? Yes,
The, there's two mantras on page 11, is that correct?
yes.
Top and
Mm-hmm.
the middle.
Yeah, we will get to that.
Oh,
Yeah, let's look at this praise and yeah, any questions about the praise, what you have read? Yes.
Jamyang asks, when we do mantra recitations for a specific person, such as someone ill from cancer, is it better to request the activity directly, or is the desired activity or target already known by the mere thought?
Right. Yeah, so basically the question pertains to, and this is a good question, because often we say we should pray for others, we should practice for others, we should think of others with our practice, right? And then specifically in various, especially Vajrayana deity practices, they will say things like, and so now, you know, if you're practicing for someone, you should do this, 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 this. And sometimes in some of these instructions, even clearer, like very prescribed visualization. You know, light comes out from here and goes there, and then does this to that person that you're praying for and coming back, all of that, right? So yes, generally, overall, you know, like as part of the Bodhisattva vow, as part of Bodhisattva activity, there are practices that we do, and we do to help others. Yeah. However, we need to contextualize this a little bit. So first thing to say is, yes, you know, we should pray for others. We should practice and dedicate our practices to others. We should help. And ultimately, of course, we always say, you know, the bodhicitta vow, right? That may I become a Buddha swiftly, so that I can more swiftly benefit beings. Yeah? But it's also said, if you have no power, it's hard to directly channel any power to anyone. So before we engage in the activities, such as the activity of healing someone, right, of whatever their condition is, you first need to build up power. Again, for lack of a better term, power. Or you need to build up ability. So with Ushnisavijaya, for example, or any deity, often, so you receive, let's say especially you say, I really want to develop some connection to Ushnisavijaya. Then, the way to do it is you go seek the empowerment. After you receive the empowerment, you go into some degree of focused practice. And so this is called the approach stage of Vajrayana practice. For the approach stage, if you want to be kind of following what the texts say, for the approach stage, right, you need to do at least, generally speaking, 100,000 accumulations of the main mantra. In this case, Om Drum Swaha, Om Amrita Ayudade Swaha. You need to do 100,000 accumulation. This is called the approach stage. The approach stage, what does that mean? The familiarization stage, the getting to know Ushnisavijaya stage. So in fact, if you think 100,000 is difficult, actually it's not difficult in comparison to really knowing Usnisavijaya. You could finish 100,000 and not really know her. 100,000 is just like a reference point. That perhaps by 100,000, you have some intimacy, some friendship, some connection with Usnisavijaya. and again, no need to think of Ushnisavijaya as a person. Yeah? If you want to say that principle of that Buddha quality. Then, the next stage is the practice called the accomplishment stage. Then often another 100,000. The accomplishment stage. And there is some changes in the sadhana when you do the accomplishment stage. Often it is said the accomplishment stage, the mantra should not be chanted in the same way as the approach stage. The approach stage, you can go Om Dum Saham 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 Om Dum Saham, right? The attainment stage, Om Dum Swaha Om Amrita Ayudha Deso Om Dum Swaha Om Amrita Ayudha Deso Om Dum Swaha Om Amrita Ayudha Deso 100,000. Now it's sinking in. Then it's in the third stage. It's called the activity stage. That is when it is said you have enough power to activate the power of Ushnisavijaya to do the activities. Now, let's go back to the original question. I would say, of course, you can, even without doing these three stages, yeah, when you do the practice, you chant the mantra, you can think of that person, you can think of the white light that comes from your heart, kind of pacifying the suffering of that person, right? And to that degree, lightly do that. But not anything more involved. Anything more involved would be like, you know, you're training for a marathon. Yeah? And you're somehow like trying to run for 3 people. You know, you cannot. You should train first. This is not because you don't want to help others. No, you're training. You understand it as an essential step to helping others. But overall, do everything with bodhicitta. So at the end, when you dedicate, then you can think even more strongly of that person that you are wanting to benefit, wanting to help, wanting to transfer merit and blessings to during the dedication. Yeah. Are you sure that's it?
Some other people were asking about
Uh-huh.
the text.
Yes.
The link to the text.
Ah. So do that prayer to whatever degree, daily or, you know, as often as you're inspired to do and you learn more about it. Then the next thing I say to incorporate is actually, surprisingly, is the long dharani. My own experience, you know, you may be different, you know. It's like, don't go to the sadhana yet. Sadhana is quite involved. Then if you want, like not when you're seated down, but going about your thing, if the short mantra kind of runs in the background, that's obviously, of course, very good, If it, kind of goes on in your background, very good. Yeah. But the long Dharani, I found that it's very helpful to develop a stronger connection to Ushnisavijaya if we chant the longer Dharani. Nathan, do a search on YouTube. Usnisavijaya long mantra. Just to say that there are several versions of the Usnisavijaya long mantra. One version that is used in East Asia, China, Korea, Japan, Vietnam, about the same as the one that we have, but not the same. Show me what you find. So I want you to share the link. Yeah, not this one. Yeah, so if you do a search, you'll find Usnisavijaya long, right? And you'll see this woman with a lot of light shows, right? The version that she chants is the Vietnamese, Chinese, Japanese version. It's not the version that we use. Yeah, this one, longer Namgyalma mantra. Share this link to the Zoom chat. There's one that says, if those of you who are in this room, it says the longer Namgyalma mantra. Namgyalma, Namgyalma. That version is the one that we use in the Tibetan tradition. And that particular version is chanted by monks of Gamakayu in one puja, I think in Singapore. That's the version. And so if you download that or make that into a file, it's very helpful to learn, especially.
The long Sanskrit?
No.
The longer Yama mantra.
Yeah. You can also send it to DDIS WhatsApp for people who are in that group. Then. So page 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Sarva-Trilogya Prativishistaya Buddhyate Nama Teyata Om Dhrum Dhrum Brun Shodhaya Shodhaya Vishodhaya Vishodhaya Asama Samanta Avabhasha Saparana Gati Gagana Swabhava Vishuddhe Abhishinchantu Mam Sarva Tathagata Sugata Varavachana Amrita Abhishekara Mahamudra Mantra Padya Ahara Ahara Mama Ayu Sangdharani Shodhaya Shodhaya Vishodhaya Vishodhaya Vanvana Sarvatata Usnisavijaya Parishuddhe Sahasra Rashmi Sanjudite Sarva Tathagata Avalokini Shasta Paramita Paripurani Sarva Tathagata Mati Dasha Bhumi Pratishtite Sarva Tathagata Hridaya Adhisthana Adhishtite Mudre Mudre Mahamudre Vajrakaya Sanghatana Parishuddhe Sarva Karma Avarana Vishuddhe Pradinivartaya Mama Ayu Vishuddhe Sarva Tathagata Samaya Ardhisthana Ardhishtite Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Vimuni Vimuni Mahavimuni Mati Mati Mahamati Mamati Sumati Tatata Buddha Kurti Pari Shuddhe Vishputa Buddhe Shuddhe Jaya Jaya Vijaya Vijaya Samara Samara Sapamara Sapara Saparaya Saparaya Sarva Buddha Adhisthana Adhishtite Shuddhe Shuddhe Buddhe Buddhe Bhadre Bhadre Mahabhadre Subhadre Bhaja Garbhe Jaya Garbhe Vijaya Garbhe Bhajra Jwala Garbhe Bhajra Udbhave Bhajra Sambhave Bhajra Bhajrini Bhajri Bhavatu Riram Sarva Sattvanancha Ya Parishuddhir Bhavatu Me Saddha Sarva Gati Parisuddhischa Sarva Tathagatascha Mam Saswasyantu Buddhya Buddhya Siddhya Siddhya Buddhaya Buddhaya Vibodhaya Vibodhaya Mochaya Mochaya Vimochaya Vimochaya Shodhyaya Shodhyaya Vishodhaya Vishodhaya Samanta Mochaya Mochaya Samanta Rashmi Parishuddhe Sarva Tathagata Hridayang Adhisthana Adhishtite Mudre Mudre Mahamudre Mahamuntra Mantra Pade Swaha. So you can chant this longer mantra 3 times, however number of times, and then the last time, you chant the last line. Om Ahom Tram Hri Ang A Raksha Raksha Mam Sarva Swam Scha Swaha. That's like a protection at the end. Kind of like all of the chant, the power of that now you kind of, lock in together. And Raksha Raksha, Mam. Mam is like I. Raksha Raksha. Raksha, protect me. Sarva Samscha Swaha. From all kind of trouble. Protect me from that. Kind of pulls it together, locks it in together. I think Omar shared. Omar, go ahead and share in the chat if you have not already done that. The recording of the audio file. I don't know if you're able to share it on the Zoom chat, if you're able to. If not, we'll Yeah, and those of you who are skilled with computer, you probably know how to turn your YouTube into an audio file. Now, let me do the oral, the reading transmission of the practice. So what happens during the reading transmission is basically you listen. You listen to the sounds. So this is following the tradition where for the first few hundred years, 400 or 500 years of the Buddhist tradition, everything and nothing was written down. It was just orally transmitted. Obviously, not everybody had that much information memorized up in their heads, but as a tradition, things were preserved orally. So even after they started to be written down in texts, the tradition of hearing it from someone who heard it from someone who heard it from someone who heard it from someone has been maintained. And so in that spirit, we're doing this reading transmission. Then during this reading transmission, as appropriate, usually the Lama would also pause and say, okay, this is what you do here. But anyway, I'll do the reading transmission first in Tibetan, then I'll briefly go over the English. Om Shunya Takema Bezar Sobawa Amago Han Chodan Chuni Songwa Dang Zimpe Du Be Jo Tamche Ranshin Tongpa Chenpo O Seo Dewa Dampe Ranshin Ni Tu Gyu Tongpe Ngangle Songwe Kolo Yang Pe Usunazo Pe Matang Dawe Ten Du Drumle Nambar Kyawe Jo Tongi Bumpe Usunazo Pe Matang Dawe Dela Drum Karbo Yongsu Gyurubale Rani Suk Tora Number Gyama Gyado Dang Sa Sheo Karbo Ye Sheo Sariyong Onpo Jinsung Sung Awa Chewe Machu Nemba Chia Ye Shina Shina Zog Dor Je Dan Chuge Sa Marbola Nebe Oba Me Da Chujin Yung Shi Diksu Dan Chepe Shakpa Shu Mijikpa Bumba Zimpa Dada Rinpoche Gempa Me Gempa Ose Karpo Trengwa Trikpa De Yesu Jiden Wanchu Karpo Yon Pema Ye Ngaya Yon Du Chana Durje Ngompo Yon Ubela Ne Pe Durje Ye Ngaya Ni Karadhada Rinpoche Gempa Rente Kingwa Shadu Miowa Ye Realte Lordo Gya Ye Chakyu Nuptu Yungon Che Ye Yungpa Changdu Topo Che Ye Dorje Shi Kaang Yun Dikzub Chen Kundo Ngompo Chen Sum Che Shiki Yongkyang Takpa Ki Me Trepa Takam Pa Gendu Ze Pa Luge Ki Gempa Pe Nere Shenpa Tsobo Tencho Su Tsang Riki La Yi Ki Dunsi Kangwe Bumpa Tokne Dutsi Gyumbe Shin Lu Chi Chin Le Tong Pa De Dagi Terwa Om Karpo Rinpa A Marpo Ninga Hong Om Por De Sum Le Ose Na So Chobe Yeshe Sem Pe Tsodan Wangi Lanam Tungi Nam Ka Chen Dang Om Banja Pushpe Dupe Aloke Gende Nevede Pradeja Swaha Ja Hom Bam Ho Samaya Sadam Om A Hongi Shepa Dhandam Sikpa Nisu Me Bar Gyu Wangi Lala Om Sarvatata Kata Abikin Satuma She Sowa Tabe Wangi Le Rinpoche Bumpa Dusi Ju Gyungi Kangwa Nane Sarva Tathagata Abhishekata Samaya Shri Ye Hong She Wangkuru Kugan Rimada Chui Langma Yarulu Pale Rang Riki Dhapo Sovo Gyurbe Ringe Ugyen Wangi La Nam Rang Nila Timpar Gyur Ki Yeshe Pa Dang Dang Se Pa Nisu Me Bar Gyuru Sarva Tathagata Ushnisavijaya Sabari Vara Argyam Padyam Pushpe Dupe Aloke Kende Nevede Shabda Pratijaya Swaha Penden Lamo Tongke Dawe Dosho Shumcha Ge Ramze Shiveku Yeshe Pa Yeze Icho Soma Nambra Gya Me Shabda Chak Selto Tukarpede tendu drumyengi taranga ten karpo korwale oze tro sanje chang sem tamche sanje changsen tamche chujing chin labdu kamsungi semchen tamche ki digdrip jang Nyangen le debe gompang la ko trile tamche drubarje surudu na treng sabon tamche pala timpar gyuru Om Amrite Amrito Bhave Amrita Vikrante Amrita Gamini Amrita Ayudhade Swaha Om Chum Swaha Om Amrita Ayudhade Swaha Major Padang Padang Kangyanupa Majipa Lache Nompara Gyupa Na Dekun Yogi Zopar Sore Yeshe Parang Shingi Ne Sushekla Damse Danoju Rangshingi Dape Mingme Osa Deva Chempe Rangshingi Ngowo Tongpa Nidur Kyu Sonam Dita Kamsungi Semchen Tamchegi Dishin Shebe Yeshe Nudu Topar Gyurchu. So that's done. Now please look at page 1. Just very briefly, some comments. Again, at the beginning, some of you, like in this room and in Zoom, we have all so many different levels of familiarity, and some of you have been practicing deity sadhanas for many, many years. So it's hard for me. I don't have the ability, to teach it in such a way that everybody, is like, oh. So I am more concerned about, when we are still learning how to practice deity yoga. So I'll give it, with that main concern. So again, too often, too frequently, you'll hear very detailed kind of instructions on how to do the practice. And then you think, oh, I'll do that. Then when you actually try to do it, you're like, it doesn't work. Too many things going on. I can't keep track, what left hand, second left hand, and third right hand, what's going on, Like, thank goodness, their pinky toe is not wearing some rings of different color. Yeah, so first, again, you want to catch the overall picture, right? So the overall picture, basically here, this is mostly what's called the generation stage of Ushnisavijaya practice. The completion stage is at the end. And here, so let's look at completion stage. The completion stage is on page 12. Oh, good. Things that we need to scratch out. So all of you see inherent being and pure natural supreme bliss of non-conceptual luminosity. Scratch all of that out. And that 2 lines kind of hanging in the, right? Inherent being and pure natural supreme bliss of non-conceptual luminosity. Scratch all of that out. That was an earlier kind of attempt to translate, and then it's all cleaned up in the lines above. Yeah, so those were left there so that we don't forget to clean up, and then we forgot to clean up the cleanup. Yeah. So that is the completion stage. And the completion stage is what? So here, okay, these terms you may not know yet. It says the Jnana Sattvas. The Jnana Sattvas, remember during the empowerment, these wisdom beings that are called forth from all directions, all the Ushnisavijayas, they come and dissolve into you. Those are the Jnana Sattvas. They are the wisdom beings. The Samaya Sattvas are the visualization of yourself as Ushnisavijaya, as well yourself, actually, right and left, 4 directions up there, right? They are all to be understood as aspects of your being, transforming into this 9 figures. That visualization is the samaya sattvas. Samaya means commitment. So those are commitment beings. Why are they called commitment beings? They're called commitment beings because to the degree that you increase your commitment in bringing them to mind again and again, their beinghood becomes more and more real for you. In other words, depending on your level of commitment, you will become more and more confident that you are Ushnisavijaya in these 9 aspects. Yeah. So here it says the jnana sattvas return and go back to where they came from. Then the samaya sattvas, so what you have visualized, and the universe with all its beings. The universe, the physical universe, and all the beings turns into the naturally pure state without conceptions, which is the luminous, greatly blissful, emptiness nature of one's own state. That's the words for the completion stage practice. That means at this point, you think the wisdom beings go back to all the pure lands that they came from. Then yourself, right, in this 9, they all dissolve. But they don't dissolve and become nothing. They go back to their natural state, which is the emptiness nature of your own mind, which is luminous and blissful. Blissful simply means free from suffering. The bliss of being free. So then you just remain in that state where the mind is awake, present, free from suffering, and free from fixations. So that's the completion stage. In a more detailed completion stage, that's also where instructions on how to investigate the mind, how to look, how to search for the I, how to rest in the unfindability of the I, which, by the way, we're covering some of this in the Bodhicitta class. This is when those meditation instructions are given. So this is completion stage. Before you do a lot of completion stage, you first do the generation stage. So generation stage is everything that comes before page 12. And generation here means appearance. So you train with appearance first. Yeah? And completion stage, you're training with emptiness. Appearance and emptiness are, in the end, inseparable. So that even when you're doing the generation stage, right? The completion stage is not somewhere else. What you are training in for the completion stage, which is the emptiness nature of your mind, which is luminous and blissful, that is present when you're doing the generation stage. It's just on the level of training, you say, first part, I'm going to prioritize the appearing aspect, the luminous aspect, the blissful aspect. Second part, I'm going to prioritize the emptiness aspect. So that's how it's divided into generation stage and completion stage. Completion stage of deity practice, basically you could say, no matter what deity, it's the same, the completion stage. Where the differences lie is in the generation stage, because the way in which each deity appears is different. In a way, you could say the completion stage is the unity stage, and the generation stage is the diversity stage. Then, as you can say, unity in diversity. So all the diverse forms of Buddhas, not a problem anymore. By extension, all the diversity and multiplicity of beings and worlds and possibilities, no longer a problem. Right now, they are all a problem. Like, don't like, because, There are problem with those that we like because we don't get enough of it. There are problem with those we don't like because we have too much of it. So right now, we relate to the diversity in such a way that, finally we say, I want to be rid of it. I don't want any of it. And then you say, I just want to meditate without thinking of anything. That's actually nihilism. It's very attractive, nihilism, because too much, right? You say, I just want to do formless meditation. But the Vajrayana method says, no, you are at the risk of, swerving into emptiness, voidness, nihilism. A lot of people think, oh, that is the essence of meditation, blank. Yes. Then when you open your eyes and get up from your seat, or 10 minutes of like serenity now. Then you don't know what to do with diversity. In Vajrayana, why 3 hands, 6 arms, 4 legs, fangs, skulls, this, that, flowers, all of that, is to begin to train us how to work with sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and not get stuck. Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and thoughts now become ornaments of the deity. In one sadhana, the Chinese sadhana, it says, even the sounds of hell realms, with all its hell prison guardians, that say, kill, kill, strike, strike, even those sounds, you begin to hear them as Om Mani Padme Hum. The molten lava of the hell realms has now turned into the pure land, the cooling and pure land of Avalokiteshvara. So Vajrayana works with, I said, embodiment. It's different from other traditions, yes, of course, because Buddha offered so many different methods for different propensities, different inclinations. But having said that, be careful not to mistake and think, just simply when the mind is not thinking anything, that is what the Buddha means, meditation. A lot of people think that. That's not meditation, that's a break from madness. Not bad. Not bad if you recognize it for what it is. A temporary time out from madness. But know that this time out is not going to solve the problem. It just gives you some space and buys you some time. Eventually you have to come back and deal with, right, the madness. So here in Vajrayana practice, where we have the generation and the completion stage, they actually work together for this purpose. So here the appearance aspect, because right now we are fixated on this appearance and this appearance. So we use visualization or even imagination. It's not a bad word here. A creative imagination. That you imagine that you are Ushnisavijaya. And your world is now the pure land of Usnisavijaya. It's no longer West Asheville. It's no longer Querétaro. Hello, Alicia. That it is now pure land of Usnisavijaya. So you train like this. So that's the appearance part. Yeah? Then they say in between the appearance or the generation stage and the completion stage, the mantra recitation stage is actually like a bridge between the two. Because sound, right, is more subtle than forms, but grosser than mind. So the mantra recitation is sort of a bridge between the two. You're transitioning now. So for mantra, for the more technically inclined people, if you go to mantra, page 11, there are two mantras in this case, given in this text. So the first one, the longer one, you can do 7 times or 21. Then mostly chant the second, the shorter one. Om Brum Swaha, Om Amrita Ayudade Swaha. The M, right, with the dot underneath, yeah, is an NG sound. It's a nasalization. Brum. Yeah? Brum. Om Brum Swaha. Om. It's a nasalization. Yeah? Om Brum Swaha. Om Amrita Ayudade Swaha. The A with a line on top is a double A, elongated, the double sound, long A. Om Brum, and U with the line above is again a long U, Brum. Om Brum Swaha, Om Amrita Ayudade Swaha. Om Brum Swaha, Om Amrita Ayudade Swaha. Om Brum Swaha, Om Amrita Ayudade Swaha. So,
That second one,
Ayur Dade.
Dade.
Yeah, Dade.
Okay.
Dade. Ayur Dade Swaha. Om Brum Swaha, Om Amrita Ayudade Swaha. There are, more details. We can always go into the details, but I would suggest you just lightly familiarize yourself with the sadhana, yeah? And then if you continue with this series, I will say, by the time you are at the 4th of this series, you will have a good sense of this sadhana and the other 3. All of them have the same structure. It's just the specifics of the deity appearing is different. But after the deity appears, and you invite the wisdom beings to come dissolve, then you invite the empowerment deities to come give empowerment. They are the same in all the 4 sadhanas. And this is all repeating in a very condensed way what happened this morning. So in fact, when you want a longer, a more complete Ushnisavijaya sadhana, it's basically the empowerment text. Now, self-empowerment, which is what I did this morning before I gave the empowerment. The idea is that you have to do your self-empowerment. But you don't immediately start with the self-empowerment text. That's part of the accomplishment. You remember the 3 stages? Approach, accomplish, and activate. And the 3 A's. Approach, accomplish, activate. And the self-empowerment is done at the accomplishment. Then to activate is when you give blessings. You practice more directly for others, directly intervening for others. Yeah? That's the activate part. So there is then one practice called the 1,000 offerings of Ushnisavijaya, which is to create a mandala and then to offer 1,000 of 5 different offerings, for 5,000 if you can. But most places when they do it, they don't literally have 1,000 of the 5 things. But it means as extensively the offerings as you can prepare. It's a group practice. Recently, His Holiness the Drigung Kyabgun wrote a new 1,000 offerings text. I requested His Holiness to write one, because in our own lineage, we don't really have our own 1,000 offerings of Ushnisavijaya text. The one that we use is chiefly from the Jonang lineage. And then the Jonang, they got it from the Sakyapas. Nothing wrong with that, except that we have our own tradition of Ushnisavijaya practice. It's just that our lineage masters never composed an independent Usnisavijaya 1,000 offering text. So I requested several times, and His Holiness composed that, and we have more or less finished translating it into English. Now is the stage of just cleaning it up and make it, more elegant to use, and we hope that it will be used. I know His Holiness already has started to kind of share this with the Tibetans and the Ladakhis, and to encourage them to use this version, the 1,000 offerings. And it's a very special practice, especially done as a retreat, where people stay there and, the whole day doing the offering, the practice. Principally, it's actually offering the long dharani. So there's a lot of chanting of the long dharani. So my kind of connection with this was sparked, I can say a little bit, was kind of sparked. Before that, I received this empowerment more than one occasion, but it finally kind of like something clicked. It sparked when I went to India in 2013, when the lineage from all over the world gathered in India to do 1,000 offering retreat puja, dedicating that to His Holiness's longevity and good health. Prior to that, he was basically ill for almost 2 years, and practically nobody saw him. His older sister, thankfully, took over the care of His Holiness and forbade anyone from seeing him. And in India, he rested for 2 years. Then everyone was very concerned, obviously, on all levels. Even like the Tibetan government in exile sponsored prayers and pujas for him, and then the heads of other lineages came and offered prayers, and then we, the whole lineage, all the lamas, all the disciples from different parts of the world went back to India for this event. And at the beginning of that retreat, of that program, so because it was such a big event, so it was held outside of the building, so like all these tents were put up. I wasn't there yet, but at the very beginning, that first afternoon, there was a freak storm that came and like tore down one part of the tents. Of course, it got everyone very nervous, talking about science. Is it good or is it bad? Conventionally, that's really bad. But later on, I think Gajan Rinpoche, or maybe His Holiness himself, said, no, that was the obstacle that was removed. That because of this practice, it came in a smaller form, some kind of damage. And then from that retreat on, His Holiness, his health, it was like literally like a light switch, on and off. It was off after the puja, on, and from that day on, In 2013, until the pandemic, he was on the road continuously. The rest of us who may attend to him in one capacity or another, we kept switching in and out. People who went with him to travel. He was the only constant. No jet lag, nothing. From 2013 to the beginning of the pandemic in 19, for 6 years, he just went on and on and on and on. So at that puja, something for me personally, like I kind of got this Ushnisavijaya practice, got it on some level, like, oh, then since then, I've had this interest in the Ushnisavijaya. So for example, this prayer wheel, the insight, it's mostly the long dharani of Ushnisavijaya. You could custom them. So this prayer wheel is mostly that. There's an earlier, smaller version of this which Laura has now. And that one also is Usnisavijaya mostly. I custom that one first and then custom this one. So it's the Usnisavijaya long dharani. So you have to find, your connecting point. It may or may not be Usnisavijaya. I tell this not to persuade you, oh, it's going to be Ushnisavijaya, just to say that it can happen with any of the practices, and then it will also kind of change. Not that, oh, I don't like Usnisavijaya anymore, but more that depending on your life situation and karma, whatever ripens, you will feel a particular attraction, a particular meaningful inspiration in this or that practice, and it's okay. You don't have to deny that. You then do that practice. The key thing is, no matter what practice that you do it as understanding that it's to actualize the two bodhicittas, relative and ultimate. That everything that we practice is to actualize the two bodhicittas, to make into real, to manifest the two bodhicittas. Yes, so as you continue in this series, you will then learn more and more about the structure of these sadhanas. But even now, you can start practicing. You actually don't need to know everything to start practicing. In fact, if you know everything, often it just kind of all jams up in your mind, because you try to remember everything, and it doesn't work. It'll backfire. So very lightly engage this practice. Hmm. 10 minutes past now. Okay. We're good? Yeah. How about on Zoom? Any dying question to ask? Karen, are you waving in excitement, or you need to ask a question?
No, I'm waving in excitement. It was
Oh, good. Yeah, I'll wave.
so wonderful. Thank you.
I'll wave back in excitement.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody type something.
Amanda said, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
So at the end, I have some remainder concluding rituals that I have to do. So I'm going to do them kind of more quietly. Then Nathan, you should do the dedication, lead everyone to do the dedication. And that is basically due from that yellow book, that dedication. So I will finish.
So, page 142.
Here, Nathan, take this closer to you.
Re Vajrayana Tilipa Naropa Marpa Milarepa Dharma Lord Gampopa Pamodrupa and Conqueror Drigompa, please bestow upon us the most auspicious blessings of all the Kagyu Gurus. By this merit may I achieve the omniscient state. May all who wander on the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death of samsara, by defeating all enemies, confusion, bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn, may it arise. Born may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. I pray for the excellent health of the Gurus, and may the Guru's supreme life be long. May the Guru's activities spread far and wide, and may I be blessed not to be separated from the Gurus. Just as heroic Manjushri knows everything as it is, the Vajra who is thus as well, so too will I follow in their path and perfectly dedicate all the virtues accumulated. Blessings of the Buddhas who have attained the three kayas, by the blessings of the truth of the unchanging Dharma as such. Blessings of the indivisible Sangha order, may the merit I am dedicating bear fruit. By the virtues collected in the three times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana. The innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Jigompa Ratnashri, the omniscient Dharma Lord, interdependence continue to increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. With Jusepcho Rinpoche, Ma Kye Panam Kye Gyurche, Kye Pa Nyam Pa Me Pa Yang, Gone Gondu Pelwar Sho.
May, you have something to say?
Yes. Just quickly, thank you, Dr. Lai, for a wonderful day.
I can't see you. You gotta come back here.
Oh,
This is the spot.
thank you, Dr. Lai, for a wonderful day of blessings and teachings. And thank you, everyone who came to the temple or who joined us on Zoom for spending the day or evening or night or early hours of the morning with us. We hope that you will join us for subsequent programs here. I spoke this morning about volunteering at Urban Dharma and becoming a sustaining member, so I won't repeat that. But I want to take a few moments to call your attention to some upcoming special programs. The next Blessing Empowerment in this series will be on Enriching, and that will be offered on May 21st, 2 Saturdays from today. Same time frame from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. But before that empowerment, for those of us who are local here, next Sunday, May 15th, Urban Dharma will be hosting and joining other Buddhist groups in the area, in the Asheville area, to celebrate Buddha Day, and that is to celebrate the birth, life, and death of the Buddha. That's happening right here next Sunday, week from tomorrow, 3 to 6 p.m. And then looking towards the end of the month on May 29th.
The schedule for 3 to 6 is basically meaning anytime from 3 to 6 come. Of course, there's a program going on, but you're not obligated to be stuck for 3 hours.
It's not just Urban Dharma, we'll be part
Yes.
of a group of
And it'll
people
be-
who will be doing different things to celebrate.
And good to come and be connected to the broader Asheville Buddhist community and solidarity, blah, blah, blah.
And then that's next Sunday. Then towards the end of the month on May 29th, that's the last Sunday of the month, and I think most of us know that that's the day of the cleansing smoke offering, so that will be happening here as usual at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. And that will be, but this Sunday, the 29th, there will be a special program following the smoke offering, and that will be the open house social, which will start at 11. It's an opportunity to see old friends, to make new ones, to kind of be in community, and a good opportunity to check out Urban Dharma, what we have to offer, socialize a little bit, and maybe think about getting involved, or if you're already involved, get even more involved. So that's all I have, and if you would like to make a kata offering, now would be a good time. Thank you everybody on Zoom. Thanks for staying with us this whole time, and thank you everybody in the temple. So glad you came.
Thank you.
Oh, so glad though that we can reopen and have people in the temple and feel comfortable about it. It's really, really good. It's a blessing. Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.